Hey there. Today, we're gonna take a look at one of my favorite new solo games that I've picked up on Rocket Punch. Iron Sworn Starforged. Let's go check it out. That is, if you're brave enough to venture alone in the darkness of space, where no one can hear you roll a crit fail. Let's go.
All right, let's take a look at Iron Sworn Starforged. So I've actually known about the Iron Sworn system for quite some time, but I just briefly knew about it. I looked at it. I downloaded the free Iron Sworn PDF, and I kind of looked at it a little bit, but I was like super confused because I've never played Powered by the Apocalypse type game, and the whole idea of moves was super confusing, and it just didn't, at that time, get me interested enough at the beginning to dive into it. So my buddy Cuppa got me into this, and we've been playing this co-op game of actually 3 people. So it's me, it's Cuppa, and it's the Pale Emperor, another one of my buddies. All 3 of us comprise the masterful gaming group, the 3 Amigos. Yes, it's very creative and totally not ripped off of name. But yeah, we've been playing this for Solo September, and we're having a blast. It's so fun because we're really good at riffing off each other and coming up with ideas. So we're never sitting there going, So with 3, there's always like somebody has a cool idea at the time, and then we'll bounce off each other. It's really great. So I recommend, really, if you're going to start like Iron Sworn, and you're not really sure what to do, like co-op is a really great option. If you're not really comfortable doing solo on your own, co-op is also, it's kind of recommended you can do that. So you can play this as a GM, playing with people, which you can totally do. You can play co-op or you can play solo. So yeah, this is Starforged, the deluxe edition. And he kind of talks about his inspirations here, Iron Sworn, of course, and then Apocalypse World, Blades in the Dark, Seed of Judas, Dungeon World, Fate, Mythic, Stars Without Number. I know of those, and I've never played any of them. I don't know, they just never caught my eye yet. So I'm not going to go into everything in this book, but just a brief kind of introduction for people who are kind of like me and not really sure if they want to get in on this book. So you got the basics that kind of goes over the basics of play. So it talks about the types of play, what you'll need, that kind of stuff. So the basic setting is in space, and you're in this galaxy, but you're in this area called the Forge, which is this galactic cluster outside of this main galaxy. And you're kind of like, part of what you do is like, part of the background is why did you kind of leave this area and move into the Forge? And there's all these different areas around it. Kind of talks about those, and it talks about the mechanics here and the whole idea of an iron vow. So that was something in your setup. So in the fiction, as you kind of start, you don't have to do it immediately. You can start playing, and then eventually something will make you vow for vengeance or vow to do this very important thing. So it's not just a quest, it's really got to be this underlying thing. And then there's ideas in here, what kind of vows you could kind of make. And then your character has 5 basic stats. And you have a basic stat array that you're going to do to build this. And this is the character sheet. It looks crazy, but it's actually really easy once you kind of get into it. So your basic stats are edge, which is like your agility and all that kind of stuff. Your heart, which is your courage, your willpower, your empathy, that kind of thing. Iron is like your strength, endurance. Shadow is, of course, your sneakiness, and wits is like your knowledge and things like that. So it kind of talks about what Iron Sworn characters are. Basically, a heroic type character. And if you really want to see something good, like how to really play this, I recommend you watch Me, Myself, and Die. He has a whole season about the Iron Sworn. It's actually Iron Sworn, not Starforged, but they're basically the same type of mechanics. So he plays the fantasy version. But he goes over enough and explains it, and it's the same mechanics. These are just space stuff. So it talks about making these moves, So best practices, like not everything has to be a move. Same thing as like in regular role playing, not everything has to be a roll. So you have the action roll. So you're going to have your action die, it's a D6, and then your challenge dice. So you're going to roll all of them at a time, and then you're going to compare the results. So in here you have an action die of 3, your stat is +2, maybe in wits or iron or whatever, and you have some kind of other +1. So that gives you a total of 6. And then you rolled your 2 challenge die at the same time, and you had a 4 and a 6. So you're going to take a look at this, and on here you're going to judge how well you did. So if you have to beat it, not meet and exceed, you have to beat the number. So on here you beat a 4, but you didn't beat the 6. So that means you have a weak hit. So there's different types of hits. So you have a strong hit, meaning you succeed on both and something good happens. So it's basically yes and. And then you have a weak hit where you only beat one of them. So that's kind of a yes but. And then you have a miss where you completely fail and it's a big no and, usually. So that's basically it. And it'll tell you on each of those moves what they kind of mean. So it kind of helps you. So really, as I said in other solo games, so you just have to interpret the oracle. Essentially, that's an oracle die, kind of, sort of. So you just have to interpret those answers in the time. So the first thing you have on this character sheet is your momentum, and that's kind of gives you those bonuses. So kind of as you get results, you're going to gain momentum. So it's like these bonuses that you can, you're going to burn the whole thing. So you kind of want to use it or you're going to lose it because sometimes you'll lose your momentum. So every time something good happens, you might gain a momentum. So you start at +2 usually as your start. And then as you do good things with the strong or even weak hits, you might gain some momentum. So you can use that. So if we go back to this example of a 6, I might burn my momentum and turn that 6. I could burn whatever momentum I had, +3 or +10. It doesn't matter. You just burn it all if you burn momentum. And I can raise that to whatever and then get a strong hit. Essentially, they kind of explain it right here, dummy. So you have your actions. You have a 4, you burn your momentum of 7, and you're able to beat both of those. And then whenever you burn it all, you're going to have a reset number, which is on the sheet here. You got a max 10 and typically a reset of 2. So when you burn it all, you go back to +2. So the other thing with the game is progress tracks. You're always going to have a 10 in something. And then what you're going to do is have different ways to progress. So a quest could be an epic quest. So you only get 1 tick every time you accomplish one of your moves. Or it could be just troublesome or dangerous. So it depends on how dangerous you judge that quest or whatever you're doing is how many boxes you tick whenever it says you gain progress. And then when you fill everything, then you'll make like a progress roll and clear it out. So you're going to have a lot of those. But your Iron Vow will be one big one. And then like fighting enemy. So every enemy will have a bar. So it just depends. Like if it's a slime, it's just troublesome, right? If it's like, I don't know, an elder beast, it's epic. So it kind of shows you're going to slowly fill this out as you take time. So you have these legacy quests, like your main quest, your bonds, and discoveries. So this kind of shows you your legacy tracks. You're going to gain that same thing. It's the same system. You're slowly progressing. So it just depends on what your rating is. And then if you fill up 2 of these, then you get experience points, and then you can fill up one of your powers, kind of one of your abilities. This is kind of what the full character sheet looks like. You also have other than momentum, you have your health, your spirit, and your supply. So you got your health, you got your spirit, which is like your willpower, and your supply, which is this abstract amount of gear and stuff you have, which I like that. It kind of talks over some of that. And then you have your different assets. So you have these cards that you can download for free. And I downloaded them all on like a hard card stock. And then I slipped them into some card cases. And then that way I can use a dry erase marker and mark on these, like if I gain experience or damage on my ship, for example. And it talks about vehicles and that kind of thing, some burdens, lasting effects, when you get injured, and then other asset types. So you're going to have a whole bunch of different assets. One is you start with the starship, unless you don't want to start with one. But typically you're going to start with a starship, and then you'll have different modules, a whole bunch of different cards on your modules, like cannons or a research lab or a med bay, and all those can kind of assist you. Then you have like support vehicles you can have, so you can have like a little shuttlecraft, or you could even have like a little skiff or something. You have your different paths, so like on here you could be a scavenger. So I'm a scavenger and a gearhead, and also kind of a pilot. And then companions, like I actually found like a combat bot, so that's pretty cool. We have a combat bot now. You have some deeds, so it's like notable achievements you've made. So these cards are going to slowly build up, and you're going to be able to add like +1s or +2s essentially to one of the stats, or one of the roles, I mean. And then different upgrades you can make. And then there's just a bajillion oracles in this game, and we'll get in a little bit. So you have your basic oracle, and it's just whenever you're not really sure what to do, you can kind of give a little what the odds are, and then you roll under that is 1, and then it talks about making your own, some equipment, some vehicles. I'm not going to go into that. Here's your basic ship, but in mine we're playing, of course, instead of Gonzo Dark, Gonzo Space, so it's kind of 80s space cheese movie. So I've got my guy, and he has like this like space Corvette essentially. It's like a Corvette. It's got a Firebird emblem on the front, and instead of the wheelbase, it's got like wings, and it's kind of built up, much bigger, of course. But that was what I explained. It's kind of like this strange Corvette-looking thing. I don't know, because I'm weird. So it just talks about ranges here. We don't need to go over that. The basic flow of play. So you're going to envision whatever you do. You're going to maybe ask an oracle, or you're going to figure out what move you're going to make, and then you got your strong, weak, and hit misses, and then based on that. So you just kind of keep repeating that whole thing. So preparing for your game. Again, very important, prep is play. So just making that character sheet, count that, or any other kind of like thinking of stuff like that. We don't need that page. We can rip that one out, but that's me. So when you first start building that world, you can just roll, and I love it. It's you can first choose the truths of the world that you're in. So you're gonna choose all these different categories. So like, was there a cataclysm? So you can first roll on all these different types to define your world. Like, was there a cataclysm, an exodus, the communities, iron, and how the Ironsworn works, like what laws are there, religion, magic, communication and data, medicine, AI, war, life forms, precursors, and different horrors, which that's very awesome. I love that. And then you're going to create your character. So as I said, you only have like the 5 stats, and you have a standard array. You're human, of course. I like. So first you can really do it in any order, but you can kind of check the asset cards, choose 2 paths, you can roll or choose. Going to create a basic backstory, just like roll on it and have a quick idea. Not a 5-page backstory, just a quick idea, like he's a scavenger like MacGyver or something like that. Write your background vow, or you can just jump in play. That's what we did. It says if you can't think of a vow, just try rolling on some oracles, or you could start play and then just figure out something. Hook up your starship, who owns it, what kind of starship it is. I didn't roll, I just thought of something weird. Choose your assets, set your stats. So here it is, 3, 2, 2, 1, 1. So you can arrange those in any order you want, depending on what kind of thing you are. I actually chose my stats first because they're on the character sheet first, and then chose my assets based on my stats. Set your condition meters, so everything's a 5 and your momentum 2. Envision your character, name your character, and they have a roll chart, of course, because this has a roll chart for everything. Your basic gear, environmental suit, flashlight, toolkit, medkit, personal communicator. And there's really no weapons or anything like that. It's just in your mind. So you could I have a basic laser pistol or laser rifle or whatever. It talks about building the sector you're going to start your adventure in. So it's almost like a hex crawl a little bit like that. Or more like this. You have these different areas. So you can gradually fill in your star chart, that kind of thing. The different passages, how that works. Connections, talks about the sector, but we want to get to the really good part. Oh, here's like beginning your adventure, some ideas on that, talks about the truths and things like that. Another roll chart for ideas to start it. And then a little bit on gameplay, and this is all the moves. So you have a ton of moves. And I'm not going to go into the moves because there's people out there who are really smart and do it a lot better than me. I'm just kind of a rambler talking about different stuff. So we don't need to do that. You don't need to see me floundering more than normal. So I will stop here real quick. So there are clocks, which is a really cool idea. So in addition to your little taskbars, you also can add these clocks. So how we're playing it is whenever we kind of have an idea for something, if we're going to start the clock. So anytime I do a miss, then it fills up that clock. So one might be space pirates are going to board your spacecraft or something like that. So you're trying to get away, and every time you succeed, you keep getting further and further. And then every time you fail, the pirates sneak up more and more. So this section goes over that. And other kind of scene challenges. We're not going over there. Principles of play, all that kind of cool stuff. And then you got these cool foes. Oh, it's awesome. Kind of look at this cool art. And you can make your own. There's a whole table on making your own. Kind of talks about what it's just like rankings because there's no stats really for the creatures. So it's just how dangerous or how far you have to get on that progress meter. Colossus. Hold on. Oh, never mind. Sample NPCs. So you got the Crystallid. Drift Pirates. We fought that today. That was great. You got a Flare Wing Shark. You got a Howl Cat. And all kinds of other creatures in here. But only a couple are written. So you got the Scrap Bandit. But all the art in here, everything is in here. Sky Roost, which we ran into that dude. This guy, the Warden. That's awesome. I like that guy. And one of the fancy ribbons. Now, this is all the oracles. So, like I say, if you don't know what to do, you just roll on these. There's so many oracles. It has one for every occasion. Every occasion. So you got that basic 50-50. You got some actions, some themes, descriptors, focus that you see in most solo games. But in here, it has space encounters, right? Sector names, stellar object. So what kind of object is there? Some peril, some opportunities in space, planetary classes, each kind of planet. So like desert world, what kind of atmosphere, settlements, observed from space. Is there a planet side feature, life? So all these oracles you can totally use in any game to just build whatever you want. It's so awesome. So you have like the furnace world, a grave world, an ice world, and all of them have these same tables: Jovian worlds, jungle worlds, ocean worlds, rocky worlds. Adrian. Shattered world, tainted world, vital world, planet side peril, planet side opportunities, settlements. So where are they at? Are they planet side? Are they orbital? Are they in deep space? Populations, first look, initial contact, authority, settlement names, projects, starships, initial contact of the starship, the fleet, the type, mission, the name. Come on, you can use, this is just gold. Half this book is gold you can use for any game. Different characters, first looks, initial disposition, their names with also their call sign. So just like their nickname or whatever in the game. So it has everything. Creatures, you can make up your own weird creatures, like an ant ray, like a flying, swimming ray in space. That's also an ant that has extra long legs and feathery wings. At least that's what we rolled up. So it's just bonkers, man. I love that. So you can roll on the first look. So if it says here like 1 or 2, you can do either 1 roll or 2 rolls on the chart to fill that out. The behavior, creature aspects, factions, So who you're up against in these worlds, great stuff. Projects, the relationships, faction name template. So you have all these awesome names. The rumors, the quirks of the factions. Then you get the starships. So my favorite, like getting into Space Hulks, which we got into, which was awesome. So you get to explore this Space Hulk, and you have the starship or even the settlements, and you have the different areas of the ship or the settlement. And then each of those has its own what type of area, feature, peril, or opportunity is in engineering or the living area or the medical area or the operations area. So each of these areas can be completely new. It's not just like a research and that's it. You know, it could be a clean room, cold storage, or anything. Library, labs, could be a lot of stuff. Precursor vaults. So basically do some dungeon exploring essentially. First look, vault, you know, the features, the perils, sanctums, location themes, chaotic, fortified, haunted, infested, mechanical, inhabited, ruined, sacred, miscellaneous oracles. So if you don't know what to maybe do, you could roll on some story complications or some story clues, anomaly effects, combat actions, and then just a whole bunch of more ideas for oracles, how to make your own, filling in the blanks. So, you know, you can use this to kind of do your Iron Vow. Here's a glossary of all the, like how to interpret the roles and little bit of an appendix kind of on a couple of the most asked kind of questions. And then the credits and a nice index. And one more bookmark down here to complete the book. So yeah, I totally recommend checking out Ironsworn Starforged. It's really great. It's still September. That means there's still time for you to join in on Solo September. What are you doing? Get off the couch and roll some dice. And we shall see each other again on the next episode of Rocket Punch!